I bet you didn't know that Messi used to be a Nike athlete. Football boots are more than just flashy footwear that you see players wear on the pitch. Most of the time, there's a hidden story behind the boot, and 99.9% of the time, people just don't know about it. Today, we're diving into the untold story about football boots, and some of these facts will blow your mind.
Number 1.
Most people will recognize Lionel Messi as the face of Adidas, wearing the boots such as the Nemesis, the F50, and the X. But that hasn't always been the case. Before signing for Adidas in 2006, he used to wear Nike. Yes, you heard that right, Messi wore Nike boots. Before making the switch to Adidas, he used to ball out in many Nike boots such as the Tiempo, the Vapor, and even made his professional debut in the T90, as you can see here.
2.
Did you know that the Predator could have actually been a Nike football boot? After his retirement, former Liverpool captain Craig Johnston designed the prototypes of what will be the Adidas Predator. Johnston first came up with the idea to add rubber elements, as you can see here, to add better striking contact to the ball. He even tried out vigorous tests to make sure that this actually was viable for a football boot. For the first 5 years, this idea was actually rejected by a large number of big brands, such as Nike, Reebok, and initially Adidas. However, Adidas actually had a change of heart and took on Johnston's idea, developing the first ever Predator worn by the likes of Paul Gascoigne. The boot would go down to be one of the most renowned boots of all time and is actually still famous to this day. And fun fact, the first ever goal scored in a pair of Predators was a free kick scored by John Collins in 1994. But can you imagine how much money Nike would have made and actually have missed out on if they had developed the Adidas Predator and taken on the concept?
3.
Since the release of the 2016 Ace Plus 16 Pure Control by Adidas, laceless boots have been all over the market. But these weren't the first ever laceless pair on the market. The first ever high laceless model was released by Lotto back in 2006. And this was in the form of the Lotto Zero Gravity. Only a few players got the chance to wear them, such as the Brazilian legend Cafu, but Lotto were miles ahead of the game. Check these out.
4.
Things aren't always as they seem when it comes to football boots, especially when it comes to Neymar and the Hypervenom Phantom 2. If you look closely, they may look like the Hypervenom Phantom 2, but on closer inspection, they're not. They were actually a pair of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 10. Neymar was provided these by Nike because he was unhappy with the fit and feel of the Hypervenom Phantom 2, and he much preferred the fit of this boot. However, because he was an athlete, which was pretty much the face name for the Hypervenom Phantom 2, they had to do something to make it a little bit more camouflaged. But why else was he unhappy with the Hypervenom Phantom 2? Well, I'll tell you why.
5.
The Hypervenom was one of the most loved silhouettes by Nike, and in my opinion, it was actually one of the best ones they've ever done. But one mistake from Nike led to the silhouette being ruined and it actually being discontinued. Everyone absolutely loved the Hypervenom Phantom 1 and the silhouette, and said it's probably one of the best boots ever to release. However, that was not the case with the Hypervenom Phantom 2, with it being extremely disappointing. In 2015, Nike released the Hypervenom Phantom 2, which was a refresh model of this, and it had some drastic changes. Nike completely removed this soft upper for a much stiffer upper, which it was just terrible. But they did this because of the lack of structure in this boot and durability issues. But because of this switch, a lot of players were complaining about how stiff the boot felt on feet and how uncomfortable it was. And that's why Neymar decided to change to this boot, which has a much softer upper. But halfway through the release of the Hypervenom Phantom 2, they decided to switch it back to the old upper. So most people call it now the Hypervenom Phantom 2.1.
6.
Toni Kroos has been wearing the same pair of boots for 10 years. That never happens with football players anymore. Adidas and Toni Kroos had an agreement where they continue to make this boot for him every single season, even though this one was discontinued over 10 years ago. Toni Kroos, like many Adidas athletes, actually had specific customizations to this boot as well. His boots were actually made by K leather rather than calf leather, so it's a much softer feel on the top, and he actually uses the outsole of the old Adi Pure compared to this one. Toni Kroos also seems to be very superstitious, and he said his favorite pair of boots are always white, and he doesn't even let the kit man clean them. He has this very specific routine for cleaning them, so he's very superstitious.
7.
It wouldn't be a video about football facts unless I spoke about Brazilian R9 and the Mercurial 1998. This is arguably the most revolutionary football boot of all time, and it's actually the first boot to give the concept of a speed boot. A boot that was designed to be lighter than anything else on the market. It was the lightest boot on the market at the time, weighing only 230 grams, and was actually Nike's first ever signature boot. This football boot actually changed the whole landscape of football boots and how they're designed and marketed to people and consumers who buy them today. Multicolored boots became far more popular after this, and other brands actually started trying to compete with them by bringing out their own streamlined speed boot as well. R9 actually debuted the boot in the 1998 World Cup and had absolutely everyone staring at his feet, if they weren't already, because he's such a talent. But the boot's design actually sent shockwaves around the entire market and actually skyrocketed Nike's popularity. And this boot can actually be compared to the Jordan 1s in terms of sneakers.
8.
Unfortunately, the football boots that we actually get off the shelves can be very different to what the pros actually get. For example, here is a pair of Messi issue boots, and they're completely different to what we get on the shelves. So as you can see on the front here, he has a custom burrito tongue, which completely comes out as you can see, which makes it far more easy to put these on and much comfier for him. You also get a much thicker heel at the back, as you can see here, a completely different sole plate, also a different lacing system, as you can see here, and actually the material on the boot is different to what you get from a normal standard pair. So in certain terms, it's a completely different boot. And then on this side, this is a custom pair for Phil Foden, and you'll see it has a completely different sole plate from the Nike Tiempo. Another example of this is Cristiano Ronaldo, who had a lower dynamic fit collar on his football boots compared to the ones released to the public.
9.
When you think of the Adidas Predator, you may think of Zinedine Zidane or more recently Jude Bellingham. But the player who had the most effect on the Adidas Predator and even the design was David Beckham. So prior to the Adidas Predator mania, no Predator model had the famous tongue and strap, as you can see here. The man behind this introduction was no other than David Beckham himself. Beckham suggested to Adidas that they added a strap to stop the tongue from moving around while playing. And since then, it's become one of the most iconic features of the Adidas Predator. And that is just some fun, interesting facts about football boots that you may or may not have already known. But if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and we'll do more videos like this, and maybe we'll show you some more rare pairs that you haven't even seen before.